I really hope for his sake that Dennis Schroder doesn't go on Twitter much. If he does, it's been a rough couple weeks. In today's video, we're going to look at 4 active players that declined massive contracts and ended up really regretting it. If you guys like the content, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Over 50% of y'all that watch the videos aren't subscribed. What are you doing? Hit that button. Let's try to get 321 likes on today's video, and let's hop into it. Now you're gonna see that these guys that quote-unquote regret their contract decisions are still making millions of dollars. They're in the NBA. They're doing absolutely fine financially, but that doesn't change the fact that missing out on tens of millions of dollars doesn't burn. Let's start this off by looking at how Dennis Schroder got to this point. He came into the league in 2013 as a 6'3" point guard from Germany. The Atlanta Hawks would decide to take him with the 17th pick in the draft. In his rookie season, he had a very small role. He averaged just 4 points a game. In his second year, he would go up to 10 points and 4 assists. And by the final year of his rookie contract, he was a full-time starter, averaging 18 points and 6 assists, shooting 45% from the field and 34% from 3. That offseason, he would sign a 4-year, $70 million extension. We would see a pretty similar season out of him the next year, and after that, he was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in a 3-team deal. In his first season there, we would see some slight regression. This was his first season back with a bench role. He would average 15 points on pretty poor efficiency. It was his second season in Oklahoma that really raised his stock. He averaged 19 points and 4 assists off the bench, shooting 47% from the field and 39% from 3. He would get absolutely robbed for 6th man of the year as Montrezl Harrell would end up winning, and you can argue he wasn't even the best bench player on his own team. This was a season that Oklahoma thought would produce a top pick, but they ended up making the playoffs with surprising seasons from guys like Schroder and Chris Paul. It was no surprise when the Thunder went out of their way to get worse that offseason, trading Paul to the Suns and Schroder to the Lakers. This was an interesting fit for LA. It looked like Schroder was going to be in a starting role again, and there was a lot of excitement adding an amazing two-way point guard to the reigning NBA champions. This season was going all right for Schroder. By the end of March, he was averaging 14 points and 4 assists, shooting 44% from the field. Nothing crazy, but at this time, the Lakers would offer him a 4-year, $84 million deal, an amount that felt very fair at the time, and he would decide to decline it in hopes of getting closer to max money and unrestricted free agency, which he hadn't experienced to this point in his career. The Lakers had a disappointing end to this season. They got bounced out early on in the playoffs with the help of a lot of injuries, so Schroder hits free agency. There's a lot of buzz about possible destinations. We're seeing Lonzo and DeMar go to Chicago, Kyle Lowry to Miami, Evan Fournier getting the bag in New York. But we're not hearing anything about Schroder. In free agency, time is not on your side. Every day, even every hour that goes by, money is drying up. We see certain off seasons where teams have too much money, and Timofey Mozgov and Allen Crabbe are getting generational wealth. But then when you have off seasons like we just had, with very few teams that have money to spend. So after teams like the Knicks, Heat, and Bulls paid their guys, there was just no way Schroder was going to get close to the desired max contract. So at the end of the day, he ends up signing with the Boston Celtics with their mid-level exception for $5.9 million for just 1 season. So yes, 6 months ago, he declined an $84 million deal just to sign for less than $6 million. Really just an unfortunate series of events. Now, if you're a Celtics fan, it's amazing. Between him, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, there's a lot of high-level two-way ability on this team. They're just lacking a strong front court and depth. At the end of the day, I think it was just mainly bad timing for Schroder, but that doesn't change the fact that, man, has it got to burn. Now, Schroder isn't the only guy that's had something like this happen to them. I think one of the most infamous declined contracts was from Nerlens Noel. He came into the league fresh off a torn ACL at Kentucky, but still managed to go with the 6th overall pick in the 2013 draft to the Pelicans, but was traded on draft night to the Philadelphia 76ers in a deal that brought Drew Holiday to New Orleans. He would miss his entire rookie season with injury. In his second season, he looked very solid, especially on the defensive end. He averaged 10 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks a game. We would see similar numbers out of him in his 3rd season, but then midway through his 4th year, in the 2016-2017 season, he would get traded to the Dallas Mavericks, where he would average 9 points, 7 rebounds, a block, and a steal a game. He was looking pretty solid, but at this time, the center position was really changing. We were in the middle of the Warriors dominating the league, a lot of the times with a 6'7" player at the center position. So I think it was surprising to most when the Mavericks offered him a 4-year, $72 million contract extension. That was surprising, but even more surprising is the fact that he declined it just to sign a 1-year, $4 million qualifying offer in hopes of getting closer to max money the following offseason in unrestricted free agency. Sounds kind of familiar. I'm not sure who was in his ear telling him he's that guy. Whoever it was, his agent, his parents, whoever, they need to be fired. The following season, he would average 4 points and 6 rebounds a game, and to no surprise, the max money was not on the table. He signed a 2-year, $3.7 million contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That hurts. Now, since then, he's been able to make some solid money. After that contract, he again signed with the Thunder on a 1-year, $2 million deal. Then he went to the Knicks on a 1-year, $5 million deal. And most recently, signed a fully guaranteed 3-year, $28 million contract to stay with the Knicks. So he's doing just fine for himself, but in those 4 years that he could have had $72 million, he made just $10 million. Next up, we've got Victor Oladipo, and this one's interesting because he actually declined 2 big deals. He started off his career as the 3rd overall pick in Orlando, then in 2016 was traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder, then the following season traded again in the Paul George trade to Indiana, where we would really see his career ramp up. In his first season there, he won Most Improved, but the following season, he would suffer a season-ending injury. Despite not looking great once returning the following year, averaging just 15 points on terrible efficiency, ahead of this season, he was still offered a 4-year, $112 million contract, but he ended up declining that, thinking he was going to get back to his pre-injury self. That wasn't the case. He would average 20 points on the season, but again struggling with his efficiency. He got traded twice, first to the Houston Rockets, who actually offered him a 2-year, $45 million deal, but then he got traded again to the Miami Heat, where he again dealt with injury, playing just 4 games. So in the course of a year, he had a chance at $112 million, then $45 million, and ended up signing a whopping 1-year veteran minimum deal to return to the Heat. Lastly, we've got DeMarcus Cousins. At one point, he had a case for being the best big man in the league. In the 2018 season, he was averaging 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 47% from the field and 35% from 3, but he would end up tearing his Achilles in the middle of this season, probably the worst injury an NBA player can suffer. Assuming the injury didn't happen, he was probably going to get a massive max payday, but after the injury, that same interest was just no longer there, and the best offer on the table was a 2-year, $40 million deal to stay with the Pelicans. Upset at his offers, Cousins decided he wanted to make the league pay for their mistake and signed with the Golden State Warriors on their mid-level exception. Things didn't go as planned. While still solid, averaging 16 points and 8 rebounds, he clearly wasn't the player of before, and mainly due to injuries, the Warriors would fall short in the finals to the Toronto Raptors. The big offers were still not on the table, and Cousins would end up signing a minimum deal with the Lakers, but during the offseason, in a pickup game, would tear his ACL, causing him to miss the entire season. At this point, it was really not looking good for Cousins. The following season, he signed a 1-year deal with the Houston Rockets, but just 25 games into this most recent season, he was waived. He signed for the rest of the year with the Clippers, but so far this year is still yet to get a new contract. So there's some things I think we've learned. If you're not 100% sure you're a max player, like in the case of Nerlens Noel and Dennis Schroder, don't pass up on massive offers. And if you're coming off injuries such as DeMarcus Cousins and Victor Oladipo, don't just assume you're going to be the player you were before, especially if that means declining a $100 million contract. But that's the video, guys. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.